the base kit includes the base and a box, and it's around $65 at the time of review. Each additional box is $29 to $30. And overall, I really love this system. It's 5 out of 5 stars for me. They made all the right decisions when it comes to design. The vents are nice and large. It's got great airflow in terms of like coming out at 2.3 meters per second. The temperatures are accurate, and they include presets for all the filaments you can imagine, where you can adjust the temperature from 50 degrees all the way up to 70 degrees. And clearly they're measuring that temperature towards the front of the intake vent, because in the testing that I'll show you later on, clearly the back vent is about a couple degrees warmer. And I also did some testing too with the top of the units and towards the rear and the front. And overall, it's very accurate. And so you can really get up to 70 degrees. I did head-to-head comparison between my old system and the JAYO, and I really love this system. Both these boxes were dried at the same time about 5 days ago, and you can see that the JAYO is doing a great job of keeping the humidity down around 10%. And they both have the same amount of silica beads in them. This actually has 2 boxes in it, a little DIY in the back, and they're both sitting around like 24% in the box, whereas this JAYO has stayed, both of it stayed sealed, but this JAYO has actually kept the temperature or the relative humidity down. So yeah, overall, in terms of the ability to dry down PETG, which is what I primarily use, in terms of speed and hitting that 55 degrees centigrade, you can't beat this system. So one of the first things I noticed with this J1 filament dryer is that the size of the air ducts and the grating is much larger than other units that I own, like this one in particular. So I want to kind of check out the airflow between the 2 units. So in testing, I found that actually the airflow is pretty consistent for all the settings. But yeah, I was getting about 2.2, 2.3 meters per second, pretty consistently on the hot vent side. And again, that's pretty consistent, 2.3 meters per second. So let's take a look at the storage box. It actually has 2 filament feed ports, one on the top and one on the side, and it also includes 2 39-inch feeder tubes, which are actually the right size. There's no need for an adapter to go into like an AMS in your printer. And then looking at the box itself, the top has just a press-on molding, so there's no clamps, but it has like 3 little ridges. Now, one thing I noticed actually when assembling this is that these roller bars do have a tendency to pop off when you're installing them. So you kind of have to at least get in there to start with. And they do clamp in just a little bit, enough to give it tension so they won't fall out, which is nice. And the storage vent ports pop in like that, and they have the similar 2. And then you have the option, if you need to use for smaller spools, you can use the insert, and you can also use it with larger spools as well. So the weight of the container with the lid is about 84 grams. And while they include 20 grams of silica, one thing I noticed is that barely fills up this container. So yeah, there's roughly the 20 grams in there. And then looking at that though, you can see that there's some fragments from dehydrating it, but there's still plenty of room left. Yeah, so there is right around 50. Yeah, so I think you could probably squeeze a lot more in there, but for me, 50 grams of silica seems like a pretty good deal. Yeah. So, but yeah, it has these raised edges to kind of help keep the silica in. So, again, I think 50 grams is probably the most reasonable amount of silica you can put in there without creating a huge mess when you go to open up the container. And this is just, there's no slots in there, it just kind of slides right in there and uses the vent to help keep the container locked in place. So it does make it easy for pulling it in and out.